Folks, this is Invest Now America. I'm your host, and we're going to talk about, have a good conversation with our brother Wyatt. He's been with us before. We're going to have a conversation about, things like inflation and building wealth, creating passive income, and as much as possible, sort of gear this information, this discussion, in a way that helps single mothers. I know there's a lot of single mothers out there, and with the situation that's going on, it's been a real struggle for them. So hopefully we'll be able to come up with some information that will help them, their situation. But Brother Wyatt, you work for, what's the name of your company again? It's Capital.
Guidance Capital.
Guidance Capital. And you're here in Louisville, Kentucky, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But you guys have clients all around the country, is that right?
Yes, so we're all technically independent advisors for our broker dealer, which is called Money Concepts. So Money Concepts is international. So there's advisors just like us all around the world. But we've grouped together, us three guys, we grouped together and started a practice called Guidance Capital.
Wow. So you're not an employee, you're sort of like part owner, is that right?
Right. We're all technically self-employed.
Okay. All right, brother. All right. Well, man, I really appreciate you doing this. I know Brother Bo referred me to you, and he said you have a real heart for educating people about their finances.
Yeah. There's not enough education on finance. They really don't teach real life skills with money in school anymore. You still probably get just balance in a checkbook when most of the world doesn't even use checkbooks anymore.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that. It wasn't too long ago, I was shocked when I was at the store and I couldn't find my debit card, and I looked at my wallet and I said, oh my God, I got cash. It was so weird to see cash.
I know.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, we need that kind of education. And then when you see all these young people graduating from college with this tremendous amount of debt,
mm-hmm.
My sister went to buy a house and they sent her through the ringer. But if she was if she was a student, she could have borrowed the $50,000, $60,000, $100,000, no problem. Man.
Right. There's a problem now where the bank will tell you can't afford a $900 mortgage. So instead, you've got to pay $1,200 a month for rent.
Right. Brother, again, we want to put out some information there that might help, single mothers. Brother,
mm-hmm.
what's going on with this inflation thing? We were literally just talking around the table a few minutes ago, and I called my sister before I actually came here, and I was like, it seemed like overnight the magic elves came out and changed the prices on the food, man. What's going on with this inflation? How's this coming about?
Yeah. So very basic. Inflation is when you go to Kroger to get a gallon of milk, instead of it being $1.80 like it has been, you go there and it's $2 now. Right. Just to keep it real basic, right? Yeah. So an inflation happens when we start printing more money. The government, we just pumped in a couple $1 trillion for stimulus, just to try and help keep the economy going. But what happens is when you have more money in the system, each dollar's worth a little less, right? If there's more dollars, it's not as scarce. There's a bunch of them, right? If I had 10 apples and everyone wanted an apple, those apples can be worth a lot. But if I had 1 million apples, they're just not worth as much, right? So that's basically what's going on right now. There's a lot of talk on whether it's going to be pretty long-term or short-term. I think most people are agreeing now that it will likely be a year to 2 years at the maximum at this kind of high rate of inflation. That's kind of the scary scenario. But again, I don't think it'll be that bad. I think it's pretty short-term. It's just because we've gone through so much shock in the last year and a half. It's got to kind of even out. And again, the inflation number, you'll see how high inflation is when people will put out an article, but just the way they calculate it is they look at about 30 different things and one of them, just to calculate an average inflation, one of them, used car prices, right? And right now, used cars are higher than they've ever been because production on new cars has kind of taken a hit with the supply chain crunch. New Ford is having trouble getting chips in, so they can't pump out as many trucks. So, your 2018 F-150 is getting worth a lot more because people are still wanting to buy trucks, and they just can't get as many new ones. So that's
Right.
that's another piece of inflation. It's just how they calculate it is just looking at various things in our daily lives, like gas prices, which are pretty high. But
Yes.
what are you going to do? Not go somewhere? You still got to go to work.
Right. Well,
But
brother,
I
that's
wouldn't worry too much about inflation. I can't see it sticking around too long at this rate.
okay.
The government is still wanting to keep it around 2.5% for the long term, which is pretty low historically. So as long as they're trying to keep it low, we should be pretty good.
Okay. All right. It's good to hear something positive there. And can you help us try to make sense of this whole job situation? I mean, UPS just put out there $20 an hour, even though it's seasonal part-time work. I remember back in the day, UPS was part-time job, $10 an hour, and everybody and their mother lined up to get it. Now they're doing 20 an hour, but I talked to a UPS manager maybe about an hour ago, and they're saying they're still having problems getting people to take the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a couple of trains of thought going on there, and everyone has their own reasons for what they're doing. But, you still got people that are scared of going back to work for COVID.
Okay.
You still got people that are either leaving their job or not taking a new job if there's a vaccine mandate and they don't want the vaccine. There's another group of people that are exiting the workforce. You've got people that were laid off starting last year or were able to quit and, draw unemployment and at least keep up a certain standard of living, which, if you can keep living comfortable and not have to work, it's hard to motivate somebody to go back to work.
Right.
If you can get by just as easy sitting on the couch, it's, so there's another group of people that are feeling that way. And I mean, we really, we haven't raised minimum wage, and I don't think I was alive the last time it was raised. It's still $7.25 federally. So I mean, you are seeing people start to pay more, like you said, with UPS $20 an hour, and you'd think that really start luring people back in, but people are pretty comfortable right now sitting around, until they get. I think people are starting to realize more than ever that they have a voice, and they can make an impact on the working conditions. They don't have to work for pay they don't deserve, that kind of thing.
Right.
You're right. There's a large shortage of people working right now, and there's just a lot of different factors. So it's hard to say what the one thing is.
Yeah. And I thought I would never see the day. When I was coming up through high school, they were like, you have to request an application. They may not be accepting applications. And then once you submitted it, you need to follow up. Nowadays, you go in and they're like signs all over the place. Don't act like you can read the job application because the manager is going to give you one and practically offer you the job right then and there. I had one company that said, we do on the spot interviews.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a crazy situation. Brother, let me switch things a little bit. One thing my two sisters here and I've been talking about is passive income.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different ideas about passive income, and one of them was buying dividend stocks and all.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Do you feel comfortable in sort of giving us some sort of pointers about dividend stocks, what to do, what not to do, what to look for, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So what I would do is I'd keep it pretty simple. And firstly, you need to open some type of account. So you can go through what's called Robinhood. They've got a pretty good app on the phone you can use, make it pretty easy on you. You can also go open an E-Trade account is another website. You'll probably see commercials from them too. Charles Schwab, that kind of place. So there's no minimum usually. So you just open an account It links straight to your bank account once you do that. So you can either put money in or take money out, however you want. So that's fairly easy. In terms of like actually looking for a stock, I wouldn't look too much into just individual companies unless you wanted to. So an individual stock is just one particular company. There are things called ETFs, so exchange traded funds, ETFs.
ETF.
And what they are a collection of stocks. So instead of having to buy, Amazon, Apple, Google, Coca-Cola, Disney, instead of having to buy all of them, you can buy one ETF that has hundreds, thousands of companies in it. Right? So you get a little piece of each one.
Okay.
And that makes it a lot easier than having to buy a bunch of different individual companies and keeping up with, what you like and what you don't like.
Right.
So just for example, a dividend ETF is called Noble. NOBL is the ticker symbol. So if you wanted to look it up, you just type in NOBL.
Okay.
And what that is it tracks the S&P 500, which is just the 500 biggest companies in America. Okay, and it uses the dividend payers, the big dividend payers, and so you can just hold one thing and you'll be able to pull in the dividend. Okay, so you don't have to track a million different companies on your own. So something like that's pretty easy. They're really cost effective. They're not expensive in terms of annual expense. And I think Robinhood doesn't have trading costs, so it doesn't cost you extra money to buy it. You just have to put money in. So you can do $10. Right.
Well, start with $10.
Yeah, whatever money you can, but even if it's just $10, it's better to do it than to not, start getting some money working for you.
And that's an important statement you just said. Most of us, poor people like me, I've worked my whole life for money, but I come to realize that I need to create a situation where my money's working for me, because money's a good worker. It doesn't stop. If you properly invested it doesn't stop working, and they don't demand benefits and they don't demand vacation or anything like that. And would you agree with the statement that, hey, just get something in that stock market so that that money can start working for you, as opposed to you constantly working for the money?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The most important thing in the stock market, you don't have to be a genius and pick the right companies each time, especially when you can nowadays start buying, the ETFs, which cover a large group of stocks.
Okay.
The most important thing is having time in the market. So just the longer you're in, the better you're going to be. They always say time in the market beats timing the market.
There you go.
Right. So instead of sitting around thinking, well, I'll get in at the bottom. Nobody knows what the bottom is, right? You never know the bottom until you're past it. So time in the market is always better than timing the market.
Okay. All right. Well, that seems like a real good message for single mothers out there. Get in, a lot of different options for you. You don't have to be a multimillionaire to put it in there. If you got $10, $100, $1,000, if you got at least 10, get in there and stay in there. And like you say, time in the market is more profitable than trying to time the market.
Exactly.
And so
two little tips. If you have a job, always participate in your 401k if they provide it. Definitely get the free match. So if they offer a 3% match, if they say you put in 3%, we'll match 3%. You make sure you always do that. Right? That's free money. That is free money, and you cannot beat free money. So always participate in your retirement plan, right? And then beyond that, just to start saving, you've got to start saving. You don't have to have a lot to start, but you got to start to have a lot. So even if it's, again, $10 a month or something, just set it up to where it automatically happens like it's another bill. Just let it go without having to think about it. Start investing.
Okay. All right, brother. We only have a little bit of time left. Did you have a question? Anybody has a question? Pat, you have a question? Brother, you did a great job. They don't have any questions, but hopefully we'll be able to call upon you again if we have a particular subject that comes up we'd like to learn a little bit more about. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. And you're always welcome to give out my phone number to anybody if they come up with a question on their own later, or wanted me to talk about something again or in depth further. They're always welcome to give me my contact.
All right, brother, we'll do that.
What does the ETF stand for?
Exchange Traded Fund.